Hey guys, C-Dub here, and today I wanted to talk about the differences of Yu-Gi-Oh! And its anime and its manga. I know there's differences between the sub and the dub, but I also wanted to get into the manga as well. A lot of people grew up on it, including myself, but it took me a minute to get into the manga, and I'm sure some still haven't, and some still do not know the differences of the manga and the show. So I want to get into that right now. Now, the anime takes some of the elements from the manga. In the first storyline, Cards with Teeth, and that's when Kaiba comes into the game shop and he sees the dragon similar to the show, and he offers a whole bunch of stuff for it, and Yugi's grandpa denies him. In the show, after he denies him, he sends a bunch of goons and forces Yugi's grandpa to duel him for that card. Now, in the manga, it's different. Yugi actually takes the card to school where Kaiba asks him, can he see the card? This winds up with him switching it with a fake counterfeit, and at first you would think Yugi doesn't know until later. He said he did see it, he just didn't want to tell Kaiba that he saw it in front of everyone, and this leads to a duel between the two as Kaiba continues to deny it. The first duel, actually Kaiba had the advantage and could have won, but the Blue Eyes does not attack because it's loyal to Yugi's grandpa. So it disappears, Yugi reborns it, and he beats Kaiba with the Blue Eyes. And that's how it goes in the first duel in the manga. Now, in the anime, none of that happens. They just go into the duel in the manga that takes place the second time. The second time they duel is because Kaiba is threatening Yugi's grandpa's life, and so Yugi has to go through all these different death traps and death challenges to eventually face Kaiba, and that will lead into the anime duel that happens. But the anime does not show any of these events. They show the scene where Kaiba enters the game shop, the goons come, and then they go into that second duel for the manga. As for the manga, they've already had a duel, and now they have to duel again, but first Yugi has to go through all these challenges just to duel Kaiba. After going through a bunch of different death traps called Death T, Yugi eventually faces Kaiba, which is the end boss basically, and the duel happens like it does in the show. Everything happens the same way. Yugi summons Exodia, blasts the 3 blue eyes, and you know the story. Now, the one thing I want to say that's different as well is that when they duel, they are very close to each other. In the manga, for the whole Duelist Kingdom arc, they are very, very close to each other. In the anime, there's a distance, there's a big gap between the duelists. That's not the case. Imagine it like how Yugi and Bakura dueled in that one episode in Duelist Kingdom where they were that close to each other and there were like illusions or virtual images on the surface and they're very close to each other. That's how it is in the manga. In the anime, as you can see, it's very different. For the first 6 or 7 episodes, there's no major changes that happens. There's some cursing, there's some dialogue changes like that, but nothing major. Now, a big change that occurs is the duel with the fake Kaiba and Yugi. In the manga, it's shown that it's a puppet that takes on a little bit of Kaiba's personality. In the manga, it's the imposter showing up and then it morphs into the clown. I kind of like the anime's version better here than in the manga, but that's just me personally. Also, another thing to note is that in the anime, Kaiba is out and about, and in the manga, he's still in a coma from the Death T duel with Yugi, while in the anime, he's able to affect this storyline. Also, in the manga, when the second Blue Eyes comes out, it just disappears because Kaiba awakens from his coma, so we're guessing it's because of Kaiba's relationship with his Blue Eyes. As with the show, Kaiba weakens it with his machine or with the machine, the computer, and weakens the Blue Eyes White Dragon, and that's why the attack does not work. Like I said, I think the manga's version wasn't as good as the anime. I think the anime's in this version, was better. Also, there was these documents that would give Kaiba Corporation to Pegasus. Mokuba swallows the key that contains the documents. It's not that big of a deal, just thought I'd mention it. And that's something as well that did not take place in the anime. Something that is filler is the Yugi and Bakura duel that happens on Duelist Kingdom that did not happen in the manga. And I'm actually glad the show added that because I think we needed some more time with Bakura. Some might not like it because this shows more losses for Bakura, but the way he lost still kept him strong as a character. So I'm glad that they added this scene in the anime, although it is not in the manga. Now the duel with Panik, it goes the same way, except that instead of fire, they use a noose to threaten to hang Yugi if he loses, and that's because they're very close to each other. The fire thing wouldn't work. In the anime, they can use fire because he's very far apart and you really couldn't use the noose, so they had to come up with a different way. Both ways are pretty fucking violent, so pick your poison on what you like better. To me, it's fine in the anime as well in the manga. There's no major changes that happens in the anime and manga all the way up to Yugi and Kaiba's duel. There's minor differences, but nothing major, nothing noteworthy. One thing that does happen is there is a conversation between Bandit Keith and Kaiba, and they really don't like each other. But that's pretty much it. Another thing that happens in the anime that doesn't take place in the manga is the Taya and Mai duel. That doesn't happen. Mai just gives Yugi his star chips. So I felt like that was unnecessary. We really didn't need that duel. It was just a filler ep. So yeah, it was just there. The night before the Duelist Kingdom playoffs or tournament, whatever, take place, the whole Taya, Tristan, Pegasus, that whole ritual scene doesn't happen. That is part of the anime. In the manga, it's a lot more simpler. Tristan is looking for Mokuba's body because at this point Pegasus has taken his soul and he wants to find the body. Bakura helps him here and there and eventually he's able to find it. Bakura gets him out of jail because he gets caught. It's a lot more simpler in the manga. In the anime, it's way more crazy. Also, Bandit Keith sneaks into Joey's room and he takes his card. In the manga, Yugi catches him and he gets caught and then Joey punches him and says, I'm going to duel him tomorrow, but at this point he's already gotten the card, which they don't know. In the anime, he just stays asleep and he walks out with the card. I think the anime did that better because it's better to just have it that way, I believe, my personal opinion. That's just me. Also, one thing I forgot to mention earlier is that Yugi is able to talk to his grandpa. In the show, it's more devastating, but in the manga, he's just chilling in this little TV type of thing, and he's just chilling, he's fine. It's not like he's like really threatened by it, it's not even really bothering him. In the show, they make it a lot more dramatic, which I think it actually should be, because it's like a joke a little bit in the manga. In the show, it's taken very seriously. But yeah, he's able to talk to his grandpa, communicate, and his grandpa seems fine. It's not like he's in danger, but he still wants his body back. We still got to get that in the manga. But in the show, like I said, it's a lot more serious. It's like his soul's gone. There's no talking to him. And I think the show did that a little better, in my opinion. Now, in the duel that takes place with Yugi and Mai, in the dub, they had it to where Yugi is not relying on the Pharaoh, and that's because of his duel with Kaiba. So he doesn't trust the Pharaoh because he almost got Kaiba killed, so now the other Yugi doesn't trust the Pharaoh. In the manga and the sub, it doesn't go like that. It's because Yugi is underestimating Mai, and he's looking more toward the match with Pegasus. He's not focused, and he's not going all out against Mai, and he's taking her for granted, and that's how he is losing this duel. So those are some of the changes you get in the Mai and Yugi duel. I will say I prefer the manga and the subs version of this. I don't think the dub version is bad, but I don't know why they changed that. That's something I don't understand, and why they would just opt to change. I don't understand that. But yeah, I would go with the manga and the subs version on this one. I don't really think the dubs version was necessary, although I don't think it's bad. Now, after Joey and Yugi win, they are supposed to duel each other, but in the manga, they do not duel. Instead, Pegasus just says there's no need for them to duel, and he duels Yugi. I'm gonna go with the anime's version on this. I think that they definitely should have dueled, and it's kind of a cop-out to not see them duel. It would have been fun to at least see it in the manga, but they decided against it. I'm not big on that. I'd definitely rather see them duel, and I actually think the duel that they had was pretty good, so shame the manga didn't have it. Before Yugi and Pegasus duel, Bandit Keith meets Pegasus in the hallway. Now, in the anime, after he lost, he jumped up to try to get to Pegasus, and he pulled this trap floor and he fell into the ocean. In the manga, he confronts him after the duel with Joey, and it's Pegasus now about to duel Yugi, and he confronts him in the hallway, and he has a knife pulled on him, and he's saying, "Give me the prize money." Pegasus does not do that. He instead uses his Millennium Eye, and he turns his hand into a gun, shoots him in the head, and that's the end of Bandit Keith, so he dies here. In the anime, he's seen in further episodes, so meets his end here. In the manga, in the anime, there's more Bandit Keith. In the Pegasus Duel in the anime, it shows Bakura and Honda, Tristan, whatever. You see them trying to get to Mokuba, and in the manga, they did that all the previous night before. So in the manga, they come down to watch Yugi and Pegasus duel after being gone the whole night and looking for Mokuba, and they said they could not find Kaiba. Now, in the anime, like I said, they don't do that. They're there for most of the duels until the duel with Pegasus and Yugi. That's when they disappear to go look for Mokuba. So that's the only difference here. And I guess for the anime, they had to do that because it's 6 episodes. You want to have some breaks here and there in between the action for 6 whole eps. You don't want them to just duel. If they wanted them to just duel, it could have been cut down to probably 3 episodes or something like that. So I understand why the anime did it. Also, in the anime, they do show a little bit more of Bakura's powers. They show what he can do, and there is more to that scene where they're looking for Mokuba. They added a lot more in the anime than they did in the manga, which I'm okay with, but I could have done it the night before. I would have did that night before, personally. But either way, it's fine. After the duel with Pegasus, Pegasus releases the souls and he talks to them about his history. In the anime, Pegasus runs off and they find the diary and he releases the souls later in an isolated room. And of course, Bakura meets him in this room as well. Also, the shoddy thing didn't happen in the manga, because in the manga, Shoddy is crazy. So, yeah, that wasn't going to happen here. He's already been dealt with in previous Yu-Gi-Oh! Chapters. He's nowhere in Duelist Kingdom. I do like the manga version better here, how he just told them instead of them finding a diary and him running off. I like it better with Pegasus telling him the history and why he did what he did than in the anime where they just find out through the diary. I think it adds more. Then again, it probably made sense to do it in the manga because in the manga, Pegasus dies when he's alone and Bakura just kills him. They don't show how he kills him. They just show him dead. They never reveal it, at least so far from what I've read. I'm only up to the first season, so I do want to preface that they may explain that. But they just show him dead in the manga. They don't show how it happened. They just show Bakura has killed him. The Rebecca thing didn't happen, and the virtual reality thing with the Big Five did not happen. That's in the anime. I'm just letting people know that that's filler. Now, the Duke Devlin thing does happen, but it happens a lot different, and it actually is a bigger moment in the manga than it is in the anime. In the anime, it's just there, and it can just seem as filler because there's no stakes. There's no high stakes to it. It's just some guy coming in and talking mess, and that's really it. In the manga, there's really more added history in there with that whole series of events. Yugi, or Duke, or however you want to pronounce it, is looking to avenge his father because his father lost to Yugi's grandpa in a game, and that game was for the Millennium Puzzle. Now, the loser also aged 50 years, and that's why he hides behind a mask. In the anime, it's where Joey gets embarrassed and Yugi defends his honor, which does happen. Duke embarrasses Joey in a class, and then Yugi and Duke have a game, and that's when Yugi wins, freeing Joey. So it does happen, but in the anime, that's the story, that's the whole story. In the manga, there's more layers and more depth to it. And in the anime, they duel with duel monsters, and Duke wins, and then they go into Dungeon Dice monsters. In the manga, it's a game, a simple card game, and he embarrasses Joey and beats him, and then Yugi beats him in the same card game. After those events happen in the manga, Duke and his father trick Yugi and force him into a game which is Dungeon Dice Monsters, and in the manga it's called DDD, which is Dungeons, Dice, and Dragons. He eventually beats Duke, and at this time already the puzzle had been destroyed by his father. The Dungeon Dice Monsters duel is a little different, but for the most part it's the same thing. There's some minor differences here and there, but just know Yugi wins kinda the same way. Most of the stuff happens, there's some differences, but yeah. I also want to say that it is Yugi dueling, not the Pharaoh in the anime. In Dungeon Dice Monsters, it's the Pharaoh. Not in this, in the manga, it's Yugi. After the Dungeon Dice Monster game, Duke's father pulls Yugi and tries to take the puzzle. It doesn't work, and the place winds up catching on fire, and that's when Joey helps him out, as well as Bakura being there. Bakura was there to help Yugi through the Dungeon Dice Monster game, and this is at the point where he puts a little bit of himself into a piece of the puzzle. In the anime, it's different. It's with Bandit Keith and it introduces Merrick. That does not happen in the manga. Merrick has not been introduced yet. Joey is the only one who helps him. His friends stay back. They're not there. It's just Joey and Yugi, and Joey pulls him out of the fire. And that's the end of that, and that's the end of Season 1's differences. I may do Season 2. If you guys enjoyed this video, let me know. And yeah, see you out, guys. Peace.